When I took office, nearly 150,000 American troops were deployed in Iraq, and I pledged to end this war responsibly. In the coming days, the last American soldiers will cross the border out of Iraq with honor and with their heads held high. After nearly 9 years, our war in Iraq ends this month.
President Obama checks off another campaign promise. He hosted the Iraqi Prime Minister at the White House today, Mr. Maliki, while the two leaders formally declared an end to the 9-year, $800 billion war in Iraq. 8 years and 8 months after President Bush declared mission accomplished, President Obama finishes the job. Of course, the right-wing critics are out in full force.
He, right now, as commander-in-chief, is performing abysmally with respect to Afghanistan and Iraq. He's about to snatch defeat from what was a victory in Iraq by pulling everybody out. Iraq and Afghanistan are two places where this president is absolutely failing. In Afghanistan, he's pulling our troops out so fast that he's putting the mission at risk. We've got these two wars that have been incredibly important and in which we have sacrificed tremendous lives and treasure. This president's performance means that we may well lose both wars.
Joining me now is Jon Soltz, chairman of VoteVets.org. Jon has served his country so well. He's an Iraq War veteran who has served as a major in the Army and returned last night from his final deployment to Iraq. Jon, congratulations, and thank you for your service to the country. What are your thoughts when you see President Obama announcing it is now going to be over in Iraq for military involvement? What goes through your mind?
Well, I think the first thing for everybody is it's humbling. You just flying back here, coming back to the States, 8.5 years. People are like, well, where are you going? And I'm like, I don't really know where I'm going because I haven't. It's all I've known, since I was 25 years old. I've been to Iraq twice. Everything I've done in advocacy at VoteVets has been about the Iraq War. So it's humbling that you make it through. And you're okay. You're not missing a limb. I mean, there's so many soldiers and Marines, specifically, who served in Iraq or Afghanistan that have been injured or wounded. So yeah. I think for the first part, it's humbling that it's finally over.
And what do you make? What do you make of the rhetoric that I just played for you? Liz Cheney saying that President Obama is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory and that he's losing both wars. What's your response to that?
That's why I was laughing on the lead-in because I actually couldn't believe they put her on TV. I heard this a little bit, when I was in Iraq. Look, there's stuff exploding all the time. You're focused on your mission, but I keep hearing this rhetoric from the Republicans. My first gut reaction to that is her father was the vice president. This agreement to get the U.S. forces out of Iraq that we signed with the Iraqi government was signed by her father's administration. So what President Obama did is he executed the Bush administration's plan. It's no different than the Obamacare Mitt Romney conversation. Mitt Romney has, obviously huge problems with his base because his health care plan is Obamacare. I mean, for her to say that, she's essentially saying her father's agreement is wrong, but the worst part is she might as well spit on the grave of everybody who just died in Iraq. I mean, this is Operation Iraqi Freedom. They just asked us to spend 8.5 years of our lives establishing an Iraqi democracy. The Iraqi democracy cannot and will not ask for an extension of U.S. forces because Nouri al-Maliki's governing coalition has a very close relationship with the Iranians, and the government would topple. So if we stay there one day past the end of the SOFA agreement, that's the only way we can lose this war. So she is guaranteeing defeat by saying these comments.
Well, you just told us in a very detailed manner that Liz Cheney has no clue what she's talking about.
None. I mean, it appalls me they even let her come on TV.
Well, what about other Republicans who have been critical of this exit? What's your response to them?
I just think they don't know anything. I don't think they have anyone on their staff who understands Iraq. I mean, if the Americans wanted a longer relationship in Iraq, we should have focused more on the political debate within Iraq, essentially helping the nationalists. Al-Iraqiyya, which is Ayad al-Alawi's party, actually won the most seats in the last Iraqi election. But he wasn't able to build a coalition to become the prime minister. So the hardline Shia groups are the ones who really empowered Nouri al-Maliki at the end. They're the ones who have the close relationship with the Iranians. So that if Maliki had requested an extension of U.S. forces, Sadr had two options. He could have fought U.S. forces, which part of his movement did violently over the summer months and killed 20 Americans, or he could pull out of the government. If he pulled out of the government, well, Maliki then doesn't have a governing coalition, and they could essentially topple the government. So it just shows that there's no lack of any basic understanding of what's going on in Iraq, the actual software of the Iraqi democracy can't sustain a long-term U.S. presence.
Jon Soltz, I know you're going to continue work with VoteVets.org as the chairman. We're going to talk a lot to you in the coming days about the challenges that the veterans are going to be facing coming home. Congratulations for what you did for the country. You're an American and a brave one at that. I appreciate your time tonight.